Hi, my name is Mackenzie and I'm an occupational therapist here at Emerge Pediatric Therapy, and today I'm going to talk about emotional regulation. So you might be wondering, what exactly is emotional regulation? Is it how I get my child to stop throwing tantrums, or how I get them to listen when I ask them to do something? And not exactly. Emotional regulation is more about the emotions we're experiencing and how we express them than it is the behaviors that follow from all of the emotions that we as humans feel, no matter what age we are. Emotional regulation is identifying and managing the emotions that we're experiencing, and then the process by which we know how to express them and when to express them. Emotional regulation is so important because when we're emotionally dysregulated and we're having a hard time managing all of our emotions, it's nearly impossible to engage in anything else. How can we expect our children to listen to what we're asking them to do, or to pick up their room, or even just brush their teeth in the morning when they are feeling so out of control or angry or sad and they don't know what to do with those feelings? We also often think that emotional regulation is just something we learn as we go, but it's much like walking or talking. We need help and guidance to know how to manage our emotions. Our children need help learning, what am I feeling and what do I do about those feelings? Because as babies, we learn that when we need to eat, when we need help, when we want attention, we cry, and we use that as our form of communication, both for what we're trying to say and how we feel. And as children grow, hopefully their vocabulary expands, they're able to express what they're thinking in different ways, usually verbally, and they find that, how am I supposed to manage all of these feelings too? How do I express those? What language do I use? What words do I use to express how I'm feeling? And we as adults have the opportunity to help model that for them, explain to them, this is what I do when I'm feeling upset. We may need to take a deep breath and come back to it. But I'm getting ahead of myself because those are all strategies that we can use to help manage our feelings. And before we can do any of that, we have to identify how we're feeling and know how to respond. So before I go into how we identify our feelings, I think it's really important to talk about language. Feelings are what we feel regardless of if we have the language to express them or not. They're all of the internal sensations that we have and experience. But emotions are the labels we use to say what all of those feelings mean. It helps us to better process and understand what the feelings are inside of us and give us a common language to express them to others. So it may be really hard for me to explain how my body is feeling and what's going on in my brain, but if I say I'm feeling happy or I'm feeling sad, that emotional label helps the world to know what's going on internally. And something else that's important to identify is that emotions and emotional regulation is all about what's happening inside of us. Our behavior, how we act outwardly as a result of those emotions, is not a part of emotional regulation and cannot be used to identify how we're feeling. So many times we might see that a child throws a toy or gets really upset and throws a punch even. And we might say, oh, you punched someone, so you are feeling really angry. But in reality, that child might be feeling really sad and doesn't know how else to express those emotions. And so it's not anger, it's sadness. But now we've labeled their emotional state off of their actions. And because of this, children often learn, even subconsciously, that my anger and my sadness are bad emotions. And I shouldn't feel them because when I feel them and I behave in this way, I get in trouble. Now, I'm not saying that we should allow our kids to throw punches or throw toys, but I am saying that the separation between our emotions and our behavior is crucial. We might need to discipline the behavior of throwing toys or punches or whatever the behavior may be, but we want to validate and connect with our children over what they're feeling. And so if a child throws a toy, it might be better to help them identify what they're feeling first and say, it seems like you're upset. And then talk about what might be going on there, why they might have acted out the way they did. And then later say, I'm sorry that you were upset. Maybe they were upset because they couldn't have a snack. We might say, I get really upset when I can't have a snack when I want one too, and I get really hungry. But that doesn't mean that we can hit others because we're upset. And then you can follow that up with discipline. And that way there's a separation between their emotions and the results of their behavior. I also want to point out, in the vein of talking about language, that I said it seems like you're upset. When we sit and we tell a child you're angry or you're sad, and it might not come out that way. It might say, you might have a child that got upset and just fell on the floor and started crying. And you might look at them and say, oh, you're sad. I understand. But when we do that, even though we're helping to label their emotions, we're then taking away any sort of agency they have to be introspective and say, how am I feeling? But when we say something like, it seems like you're sad, or because you're crying, I think you might be sad, it opens the door for that discussion and lets them know that how they express themselves outwardly is going to affect how people think they're feeling inwardly, and gives them the opportunity to either say that they feel differently or say, oh, maybe I am feeling sad because I'm crying. But we know some children might cry, or some people might cry when they're angry. And so they might say, I am crying, but I'm actually angry. So the language we use is so important, and it's really important for us to engage in identifying those emotions separate from behaviors. So once we've identified our emotions, the next step is to learn how we express them, or how we can manage all of those emotions when we're feeling them, so that we express them in a way that's appropriate for the context that we're in. For example, if I stub my toe and I'm at home, it might be acceptable for me to let out a few choice words or be really upset and fall onto the couch going, ah. But if I'm at work and I stub my toe, I might need to respond and manage those feelings by going, and breathe through them. Both times, it's okay for me to be upset. It's okay for me to be really frustrated that I stubbed my toe, but I was able to emotionally regulate and determine what the most appropriate response was for managing those feelings. I do want to pause and take a moment to say something that's so crucial for emotional regulation, and it's that no emotion is bad. I already kind of hinted at this when talking about identifying our feelings, but truly, any emotion we're feeling, happy, sad, mad, frustrated, anxious, nervous, worried, shy, no matter what it is, no emotion is bad. We all feel the range of emotions probably on a daily basis. What can sometimes happen is our reaction as a result of those emotions may be labeled as bad because they're not expected behaviors or they're hurtful to others. But the emotions we're feeling deserve to be validated, and we can connect with others through those emotions. And when we're free to express those emotions in a healthy way and know that we're experiencing them and that that's okay, there is no stigma tied to, oh, I'm angry and I can't share it because then I might get in trouble, or I'm sad and I can't show it. And that allows our children to talk to us about how they're feeling, to be more open with us, and know that they can communicate what is going on inside without fear of what they might do on the outside to show it and getting in trouble for that. Which, again, discipline can be important, but separating the two and making sure that there's a distinction between the choices we make as a result of our emotions and the emotions we're feeling is just so important when it comes to emotional regulation and being able to connect with others and ourselves. So, how do we manage all of our emotions and express them in an appropriate way? Well, we here at Emerge, through occupational therapy, use a bunch of different methods to try to help children become more aware of their feelings and know how to cope with them. We use things like the zones of regulation, the alert program, and the energy meter to help children identify where they're at with their emotions and what kind of response they might have. And then we teach coping strategies like taking a deep breath when you start to get frustrated, going to a quiet space, asking for a hug from a loved one or from a friend, or blowing bubbles, which can help regulate breathing, having a snack to help us sit and calm down, or taking a water break. Sometimes we need body squeezes to help us feel just right, or go swing on a swing to get us moving, or even going on a walk. All of these are different coping strategies that children can learn to use. But first they need to know how they're feeling, because that signals to them, I need to use a coping strategy. And when children are equipped with coping strategies for how they're feeling internally, they can then have the appropriate external response. And if there's a morning where they're feeling sad because they had to wake up for school and they don't want to brush their teeth, instead of that emotional dysregulation keeping them from brushing their teeth and going about their daily routine and devolving into tears and fights, instead they might be able to say, I'm feeling sad, I need a moment, or I need to listen to my favorite song, or can I have a hug, or take a deep breath, and then hopefully be able to brush their teeth despite how they're feeling. Note again, their feelings might not have changed. The goal is not to have our feelings always be calm and happy and ready to go, because we all the time have to do things when we don't feel like it or when we're still upset. The goal is to manage those feelings so that we can engage in the world around us. So that is my overview of emotional regulation and why it is so important, and all the components that go into understanding emotional regulation and implementing it to help kids be able to express themselves and engage in their daily lives. I hope that you found it helpful, and if you have any other questions, you can go to our website for Emerge Pediatric Therapy to learn more and to contact us. And if you feel like your child might benefit from assistance with emotional regulation, occupational therapy is a great option for helping children learn how to manage their emotions. I hope that you have a great day.